Hello, everyone. It is time for another installment of Heritage and History with Maureen Taylor and
Amy Johnson Crow.
right. And we are just because everyone's probably like, why are they on a Tuesday? Amy and I are having a little difficulty finding time in our schedules to do this on a regular basis. So I think Tuesdays are good now, right,
Yeah,
Amy?
Tuesdays seem to be working out.
So we're going to move to Tuesdays at 1 o'clock once a month. We already have Deborah Stock, thank goodness. She's
Yay.
our loyal follower.
Yay.
Yeah.
Our super fan.
Our super fan. And so I guess we'll do this on Tuesdays. We try for the first Tuesday of the month if we can.
Yep.
And let's see, what are we going to talk about today, Amy? We ran through some topics.
Yeah, we did. And one topic that we landed on is a topic near and dear to both of our hearts, and that is podcasts.
That's right.
I really enjoy listening to podcasts. It's kind of funny because when I'm not doing genealogy, my getaway from the computer activity is quilting.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I pretend to quilt, but it's kind of funny. So as I'm going through, and I'm there at my sewing machine, and it's just humming along, and I have my phone there next to me, and I'm often listening to podcasts, and often it's true crime podcasts.
Oh,
so,
creepy.
I know. So I'm making these, or at least trying to make these really pretty things, and I'm listening to, serial killers. It's
No, that's not what I listen to on podcasts.
Although I will say that the other time that I listen to a lot of podcasts is in the car. So that's when I'm listening to the history podcasts and the, marketing podcasts, business podcasts. I'm not listening to true crime and serial killers in the car because, yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yes, a little insight to the working of my brain.
Right. So I have some podcasts that I follow, and I have way too many on my phone that I never get to. But I have a business podcast that I really enjoy listening to, and there's some fashion ones that are kind of cool, and then there's some that are just general. But no, I don't listen to true crime on the podcast.
Yeah, I do that. That's kind of my.
So my podcast is called The Photo Detective, and Amy, your podcast is called?
My podcast is called Generations Cafe.
Right. So my podcast has to do with photographs. Everything's related to photographs. Mm-hmm. It always circles back to mention photographs, or I interview people that I've crossed paths with, but it's generally family history, and photography is what I cover. And why don't you tell us a little bit more about, and they're about 30 minutes. I try to limit them to 30 minutes because that's about what I have in my brain as a limit for listening.
Yeah.
I just can't listen to those really long podcasts. I just can't do it.
Yeah, like I can't listen to Joe Rogan go on for 3 hours. That's not happening. My podcast, Generations Cafe, is, as you might expect, all about genealogy and family history. Sometimes talking about specific records, or we're talking about methodology. But I'm like you. I try to go no more than 30 minutes. Although I will say my most recent podcast last week actually did go about 45. I was interviewing Jenny Horan, who told her story about very innocently taking a DNA test and having it completely turn her world upside down. So that was a podcast that just needed to go as long as it did. But yeah, so that's what mine is all about, as you probably guessed.
And I interview people who have new products or services that might interest my clients. And I have to say right up front, I don't take on very many affiliate relationships. I have maybe one or two, and they sponsor the podcast. But generally the people I'm interviewing, I don't have any sort of financial arrangement with.
Right.
It's just that I think that their products are interesting. And then the historians I have on, they're talking about photographs or some photo project that they're working on, a different angle than what I do, or using the same set of skills, only in a different way. And I don't know about yours, but mine's doing pretty well, and I'm really happy with the way it's going.
Oh, same. I'm actually kind of surprised how much I'm enjoying podcasting, which I don't know. I don't know why I'm surprised at that, because I enjoy speaking. I enjoy researching the topics ahead of time, in preparation for the podcast. So I don't know why I'm surprised. I think I'm just surprised how much I'm enjoying it.
I really enjoy it too, but that's not surprising, I think, given the fact that the two of us get on here once a month and just chat.
Yeah.
We like to talk.
We do.
And we like to talk to other people in our field. And so it's a rare interview where I have a loss of words. And I don't know how many of you know how much work goes into a podcast, but it's a fair amount of time to prepare each one. You have to write whatever script you're going to do. You have to produce it.
Yeah, I don't write out a script. I don't know about you, Maureen, but what I do is I have a pretty detailed outline. So I just have the bullet points that I want to hit. And if there's something really specific that I need to phrase a specific way, I'll write that out. But I don't actually script mine.
I do, because I have show notes that you can look at.
Yeah, and that's So you do the work of the show notes ahead of time. I create the show notes afterwards.
No, I do the show notes ahead of time.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, then it's all done. But Deborah Stock wants to know, how much time does it take us to each podcast? How much time does it take us to prepare?
I mean, it depends. Yeah, how's that for an answer? I mean, it could take easily, a couple of hours.
Oh, it can take up to 5.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Easily. Yeah. I mean, if you think about not just preparing, but then you think about the post-production.
Oh, yeah. Thinking about post-production, definitely, because I'm still editing my own podcasts. Now, I am looking at hiring that out, just because my particular zone of genius does not include editing podcasts.
That's funny, because I am not a technical genius by any means, and yet I do edit my podcasts.
Yeah, I mean, I do edit it, and I feel pretty comfortable doing it. It's just, for me, it feels so tedious, and it feels like it would be a better use of my time to have someone else do it.
Well, I have someone add the intro and the outro and the music and things like that. But I'm going to take some courses this fall locally on sort of podcast editing and editing tools, and see if I can't move that away from them. It's more cost effective to do it yourself. Maybe.
Yes and no. Maybe. Because it depends on how long if it takes you all day to edit it, then did you really gain anything?
It doesn't take me all day.
Yeah.
But it might take me a couple of hours.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. I'm not sure anyone realizes that. I mean, and we don't have big podcast production machines like.
No, my big podcast production machine is my ATR 2100 microphone and my MacBook.
Yeah, I have one of these.
Yeah.
The Audio Technica, but I tend to use my earbuds. I get better sound.
Interesting.
This is just not working for me.
Yeah.
It's just not working.
I love, and I don't think I can get it. I don't think I can get it out of the holder because I have it in the stand. I do need a new pop filter, though. I've discovered that.
I have just a.
Yeah, you've got the windscreen.
I got the windscreen. That works. It does not take care of the barking dogs, which always tend to bark. Yeah. Yeah, the headset does a better job. And Cheryl wants to know if we write out specific questions. And the answer to me is yes, I do. I write out specific questions. But then
I do too.
Yeah. But then, because we're talking to people, questions come up that we think to ask.
Exactly.
And Deborah says the editing time could depend on the difference between scripted and non-scripted.
For me, it does.
Really?
Well, not so much scripted and non-scripted. I will say that the more detailed my outline is, of course, the less editing. But the big difference that I've noticed in editing time is if I'm solo or if I'm interviewing someone. Because I have a mix of both on my podcast. Some
Me
episodes are
too.
just made, and some episodes I'm interviewing someone.
Me too.
Ironically, the easiest ones for me to edit are the ones where I'm interviewing someone. Because it's just a conversation. Whereas
It is.
when I'm recording just myself, I catch myself. It's like, oh, I didn't really want to say it that way. So I back up and I start all over again. And so I have to edit all of that out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I'm editing out is my stopping and starting, or if I'm, I don't know, thinking and talking at the same time, which becomes a problem the older we get. I'll mispronounce a word, or I don't know what I do. But anyway, all that gets edited out.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like the last guest I interviewed, somebody came home, interrupted the podcast. Their dogs were barking, then set off my dogs because they could hear the dog barking. And so I had to edit all that out. It doesn't take, you sort of mark it down. You keep a pad next to you. And you do that. And Amy, I actually had the tables turned on me recently.
You did?
Yes. With I work with a wonderful woman in Florida. Her name is Carol Cox, and she has a business called Speaking Your Brand.
And she's fabulous.
Yeah, she's fabulous. I just love listening to her podcast. And it's all about speaking and presenting yourself well and what you do and podcasting or whatever. Anyway, she turned the tables on me and got me to talk about confidence issues in public speaking. And I was a little nervous about it, but because I've been lecturing for, like, we won't even talk how long. So how could I ever have a confidence issue? But you have them, I have them. It comes up.
It does.
The flippy stomach comes and you're like, why am I nervous? So we talked about ways around that. But it was interesting for me to be involved in her podcast to actually see what she was doing.
Right.
So we could see each other and I could see what she was doing on her end.
Right.
To do it all. And then I got to see how the whole thing fit together. It was interesting to see, because it's somebody else doing it.
Oh, yeah. It's kind of like going to a genealogy conference and listening to somebody else present on a topic that you feel comfortable with, but seeing how they approach it or how they explain it, it's like, oh, I never thought about, it's like, oh, well, I've been using land records for 50 years, but I never thought about that.
The new perspective. It was a new perspective. Yeah. New perspective. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, I think, Maureen, maybe we should tell people how they can find podcasts.
I think it's a good idea.
Not just ours, but podcasts in general.
Yeah. So basically there are podcasts on everything you can imagine.
Everything.
And it's a growing phenomenon. I mean, when I go out in the car now and the radio station I'm listening to says iHeartRadio has all these podcasts. They actually have a DNA podcast called Spit.
Ooh, I haven't heard that one yet.
Right. Which I've been meaning to ask Blaine and Diane and Angie and all of the DNA specialists in our field. Well, do you listen to Spit? Why can't you get on that program? They need to get on that program.
You might want to preface that question ahead of time rather than just asking them if they listen to Spit. Because
That's true. Yeah. But so why don't you tell them how you can find us? Well,
I know that, and I think that yours is the same way. You can listen to my podcast actually on my website.
Yes.
I have each episode I have embedded in the show notes, and you do the same thing. It's a blog post. Come on. But in podcasting, it's show notes. But so you can listen to it on the website, or if you happen to have a smartphone of just about any variety, whether it's an Apple, whether it's Android, I know that Apple, there is a built-in podcast player called Podcasts. And the easiest way to do it is I'm just going to hold it up. You can see the little podcasts icon right there.
Yep.
So what I do, and you can search by topic, but really if you're looking for a specific podcast, the easiest thing to do is to go down at the bottom. When you go into the app, at the bottom, I don't know if you can see that very well, there's a little magnifying glass icon. And then you can just type in like the title of
Type in the topic.
Yeah, well, you can type in the topic, you can type in the title of the podcast you're interested in.
So the Photo Detective or Generations Cafe. We're going to be shameless here.
I know, we're going to be totally shameless. So you can type in, like I'm just typing in the name of my podcast, and you click search.
And
it'll pop up. And what I think a misconception, I don't know if you've noticed this too, Maureen, a misconception that a lot of people have about podcasts because you subscribe to them to get them regularly to listen to, it's free.
It's free.
Yeah, it's not like you have to pay to subscribe. It's totally free.
And I ask people that I meet that I, like what podcasts they listen to. So Amy, you're going to have to send me a list of your true crime.
I will.
Have you listened to Crime Town?
I've seen it. I haven't listened to it.
So that's
because my to be listened to list is really long right now.
I know. But Crime Town is actually based on real things that happened here in my home city of Providence.
Ooh.
Oh,
so
yeah.
You get history and true crime. I like that.
They came here and did a presentation. So I got to meet the guys who were behind Crime Town.
Cool.
It has to do with the mob.
Interesting. Now, I like that intersection of true crime and local history. There are so many local history podcasts out there.
Have you listened to Mobituaries?
No, I don't know that one.
By Mo Roca. This is one from
Mo Roca, yeah.
Mo Roca, Mobituaries. And I went to a conference and drove, I don't know, for a couple of hours with our friend Michael Leclerc, who does French Canadian genealogy. And so he turned me on to Mobituaries in the car. We were listening to them, and one of them is all about Chang and Eng.
Oh, yeah.
And it has a family history, family reunion angle to it because the descendants of Chang and Eng get together.
Nice.
So it was really
I wrote that one down. I have to check it out.
Yeah, so basically somebody has to die, and then they get featured on Mobituaries. But the one we listened to Chang and Eng on the way up, and then we were listening to the Sammy Davis Jr. one on the way down from New Hampshire, and it was great. Nice. For me, I'm a visual person, obviously. That's why I work with photographs. So paying attention to a podcast takes an extra level of concentration for me. But also, I'm really sensitive to what someone sounds like on the podcast.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah, so
I am too.
There are ones that people have recommended to me, and then I turn them on, and I can't listen.
You just can't. Yeah, I've had a couple like that. It's like, oh, I like this topic, but yeah. And that happens. I mean, it's the same with TV shows. It's the same with singers. I mean, there are some singers I enjoy listening to, but I cannot watch sing.
Well, look at this. So I just did a search for you, Amy.
Yeah.
On quilting.
Oh, yeah.
So there are quilting podcasts.
Yeah. Maybe I should check some of them out while I'm quilting. Maybe.
That might be too much.
They're telling me everything I'm doing wrong with this quilt that I'm working on. Yeah.
Exactly. Quilting for the rest of us. No?
Yeah.
That didn't come up. Anyway, that's what we do when you're wondering, what Amy and I do when we're not on this little broadcast and we're not out public speaking.
Yeah,
we're working on podcasts. I actually have them all done for August, and I'm working on the guests for.
Oh, look at you being ahead of the curve.
I do have FGS at the end of the month, and I'm giving.
Well, that's true.
I'm giving 4 lectures.
You're doing 4 at FGS.
4. And
are they ones you've given before?
2 are, 2 aren't.
Oh, 2 brand new talks in one conference. That's a lot, Maureen.
Brandy new. Brandy new.
Wow.
Yeah. So Robin agrees with me that she has trouble listening to audiobooks. Yes,
Yeah.
I do. I can't
I
listen
do
to
too.
audiobooks. Can't do it.
It's weird. I love listening to podcasts. I have a hard time with audiobooks.
I can't do them. I can't. I'd rather have the book in front of me.
Yeah, I don't know
And
what it is.
then Tanya wants to know if we have a list of these podcasts that we listen to. Do you want just, Tanya, do you just want us to give you a list of our favorite genealogy podcasts? It's a short list for the moment. There's the two of us. There's the Genealogy Guys.
Genealogy Guys.
There's the Genealogy Gems.
Mm-hmm. Extreme Genes.
Extreme Genes. Oh, let's not forget it.
Yeah, we can't forget Extreme Genes.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are some other ones, but those are probably
those are the
biggest,
the better known ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Deborah says, talking of conferences, so glad that I am coming to the genealogy show in Birmingham, England next year.
Yeah, congratulations. Fun.
I know. Kirsty and I had a little Zoom face-to-face conversation, and she said, would you like to come to the genealogy show? And I said yes, without a second in between. And she said, that's the fastest acceptance I've ever had.
Fun.
Yeah. Deb Jeter says that she likes audiobooks, but she doesn't love all the narrators. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that could be part of it, because I guess I have yet to find a narrator that I really like, because I think sometimes going into a book, I kind of have an idea, like if it's, I enjoy reading thrillers.
Yes.
So if it's a thriller, I expect, if it's a male protagonist, I expect him to have a certain sound, and a female protagonist, I expect her to have a certain sound. And if it doesn't match, it just, I can't do it.
Right. I like thrillers as well.
Yeah.
I do. I read a fair amount of them in the summer. I've been working my way through a bunch. My neighbor down the street, oh my God, she is a speed reader. And I caught her. This is just she doesn't listen to us, thank goodness. I caught her throwing a book in the trash. And I said, what are you doing? We have a little library around the corner. If you don't want it, just stick it in the little library and somebody else will take it. So she felt so guilty that now she gives them all to me. And now the stack is like this.
So now you need to put them in the little library.
Oh my God. I am so far behind. Every time I turn around, there's another book in my door. Oh my goodness.
So it looks like Deb is giving me a recommendation. I have to check out the sewing machine. I will check that out. Is that a podcast, Deb?
I'm assuming it is.
I am. I'm writing it down. I have notes.
And Liv, yes, I'm looking forward to seeing you next year in Birmingham too. So that's what I do theme months. I don't know about you. I'm doing themed months.
I'm working on creating themes.
Yeah.
I'm lining up topics with what's going on in the month, but I wouldn't say necessarily yet that there's a month-long theme. I'm working on it.
Yeah, I'm trying and then a balance between interviews and just me.
Yeah.
Because that appears to be what people want to listen to. I mean, they like the interviews, but they like hearing me talk about photographs, and that's why they're listening. So I'm trying to do more of those, but they do take a lot more time.
They do.
Yeah. I don't know why they do. I don't know why they take so much longer, but they do. They do. Yep. Well, anyone have any podcast? So how many of you listen to podcasts, and do you have any other podcast recommendations for us?
Yeah, always on the lookout. Kind of like books. Always on the lookout.
No, not a podcast.
Books.
Oh, it's not a podcast.
It's an Audible.
The sewing machine. It starts with the singer strike in England for the women who were fired.
Ooh.
Oh, that sounds good.
That does sound good.
Yeah. I haven't been reading too much nonfiction. I'm still working on my novel, so there we go.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of reading this summer, but not a whole lot of nonfiction. It's been very summer reading.
Summer reading.
It's been summer reading.
Summer reading, exactly. Summer reading. Yeah, I just want to finish this novel. And I want to have time to work on it because I've been busy working on the podcast.
Yeah.
And
so many projects, so little time.
So little time. And I'll just in brief mention that my website, Old PVD, finally launched.
Yay!
And yes, officially. And I had a party for it.
You did. You had quite the to-do.
I did. We had quite the to-do. I rented out the What's Your Writers Club, which is a writers club downtown. I just love them, the things that they do. We're going to do a podcast meetup next month.
Fun.
Yeah, I listen in party kind of thing. But anyway, So I had it at their place, which is a beautiful spot in downtown Providence. And these local musicians who do Rhode Island music, and it's sort of folky music, the Vox Hunters, they're called. We went back and forth, and I said, I can't afford you guys. I'm sorry. I'm on a low budget. This is a low budget a party. And they looked at the website, and they were like, oh, my God, we have all this music history. We're just going to come. Can we just come and play a couple of songs?
And you're like, sure.
I was like, yes. Yes,
that would be lovely.
We had a woman in costume.
How cool is that?
It was so cool. They just set their little selves up and they play all the spoons and the recorder and the concertina.
Yeah.
And
fun.
We launched it. I got on local television for it, which people were like, don't I know you? I'm like, you probably saw me on TV. And we got, I don't know, way more than 1,000 people signed up in just a few days.
Wow. That is awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. So, and it's adaptable to any location. So if anybody loves oldpvd.com, send me an email. The platform is adaptable to other places. And it won't cost you as much as it cost me because I had to develop it. I had to build it from scratch. There you go.
There you go. No, that is so cool.
We have to wrap up today. Both Amy and I have to take people that we love very much somewhere.
Yep.
Both of us on the same afternoon.
Yep.
Yes. They gave birth to us, so we will take care of them.
We will. We will.
We have a couple more. Cut Off Jeans is a great podcast.
Yes.
And Spoons and Washboards.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you play the washboard.
Yeah, spoons and washboards. Yeah, they didn't play the washboard, but I bet they do.
If they play spoons, they probably play washboard.
Oh, they're so cute. I have one of their songs that's stuck in my head. It's about a groundhog. And I told them, I was like, your groundhog song is just total. It's an earworm. It's just stuck right in my head. They laugh.
Wow.
Yeah. They laugh. But I can't wait to see what music history they add.
Yeah, that is going to be very cool.
Deborah wants to know if I know any good historical nonfiction. What do you mean nonfiction? You mean historical fiction or just nonfiction about Providence? Oh, you're local. Well, Deborah, send me an email at photodetective@maureentaylor.com and we'll have a little email chat about, yes, there are plenty of nonfiction books about Providence and I'll send you my list. Definitely. And we can meet up for coffee. You're local. Because that's what local folks do, right?
That's right.
She meant fiction. Good historical fiction about Providence. Yes, there is. Have you ever read H.P. Lovecraft? It's sort of scary fiction. But
I was going to say that's...
It does, but he sets everything in Providence in the College Hill neighborhood, which is over where I live near Brown University. So you walk down these streets and
I never realized that.
Yeah, it's all local. So anyway, all right. So we have to go so we can take these lovely women that we know and love somewhere else.
Yep.
And Deborah Valeri, send me an email. I don't know where you are locally, but you can send me an email and tell me I am in Providence and you went to RISD right down the street from me. And we will see you in September. Amy, we haven't set a date.
Yeah, I don't think we have.
I don't know. September 3rd work for you?
Sure, why not?
Great. September 3rd at 1:00.
All right.
We'll be here. I'll give the report on FGS.
Yep.
And we'll talk about other stuff. All right.
All right.
That's all for now. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.